We have a special guest with us here in Mission Control today, visiting in association with AMSAT and the ARIS experiment, the amateur radio experiment aboard the International Space Station. We have Frank Bauer, who is the Vice President for Spaceflight Programs at AMSAT with us. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. You are no stranger to NASA or Mission Control, but you're here for a special reason this week, and that is you've got a large group of folks here in Houston. Tell us a little bit about why you're here.
Yeah, we have about 130 people here from AMSAT, the Radio Amateur Satellite Corporation, and we're here for a space symposium all weekend starting actually on Friday. And what we are doing is discussing our amateur radio satellites and ARIS and improving our operations. And one of the major satellites we're working on is CubeSat called Fox. And so we've got a lot of different spacecraft that we've built over the years, way over 70 satellites at this point, starting in 1961, very first satellite called Oscar 1.
Oscar 1, and then you, as we mentioned, you're no stranger to NASA. You worked at Goddard Space Flight Center and elsewhere. Tell us a little bit about your history with the agency.
Yeah, I started in the mid 70s working for NASA at Goddard, and actually my career was down here for a couple of years on Constellation, and then ultimately NASA headquarters folks asked me to come up and be the chief engineer for exploration. So I was doing that for 4 years and retired about 2 years ago.
Okay. And in retirement, you're staying busy, obviously, working with this group. We've got about 130 people, I think, visiting Johnson Space Center here from your symposium. It's great to have them here in the viewing room. So tell us a little bit. This is all about the International Space Station today. So give us a little bit of history and tell us a little bit about ARIS and its value to both the folks on the space station and to folks here on the ground.
And one of the things we were celebrating this weekend is that this is the 30th anniversary of amateur radio on human spaceflight vehicles. And so we had a panel session with Owen Garriott and Bill MacArthur and others to talk about that. Owen being on STS-9, being the very first amateur radio operator to actually talk to anyone on the ground, ham radio operators, and then ultimately in 1996 we started the ARIS program, Amateur Radio on the International Space Station, and that program's been going very well on Space Station. We turned on the radio system 2 weeks after Bill MacArthur and Sergei Krikalev got into the modules on Space Station, and we've been operating since on all 37 expeditions at this point.
And about how many contacts do you have in any given period with the space station amateur radio?
Well, we're doing about 100 a year. About 2 a week. Actually, we had 2 today that were very successful. Cradle of Aviation Museum up in New York, and another school in New Jersey. And so we have about 2 a week. It depends on orbit dynamics and things like that. But so it keeps us pretty busy. The interesting thing about our program is it's all volunteer. So we're touching about 15,000 students directly a year in the program, and then also millions see the contact between the space shuttle astronauts and the students. We give them about orbit dynamics mean that we can give them about a 10-minute opportunity to Q&A the astronauts on all kinds of different questions. And it works out really well, and it's inspiring. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity for the students, for the families, for the whole community. The whole community gets behind this thing, and millions, like I said, millions experience it a year as part of that activity.
And I actually had the pleasure of being at one of those contacts in Northern California a couple of years ago, and it really is quite the setup because your volunteers come in, they set up the antennas outside the school, the teachers organize a couple 300 students to come in the auditorium. They have a large group and a program about the space station and discuss the orbital mechanics that are allowing it to come within radio range for the ARIS experiment. experiment, and then they do a countdown to the contact, and then they get a chance to actually speak live with the astronauts on the space station. I saw the grins on the faces of the kids that got to talk, and they asked some pretty interesting questions too.
Yes, exactly. And so it's all about education. It's to get students interested in STEM careers: science, technology, engineering, math. And we go beyond just inspire, into engaging the students and educating the students. Ultimately, that's our goals and objectives of the program. And it's of course, from our perspective, there's three main organizations in the United States involved. NASA, of course, very intimately involved, the AMSAT folks, and the American Radio Relay League. And then I have a whole team around the world that are supporting this from the various space agency organizations. We have ham radio groups, in Europe and in Russia and Japan, Canada. They're all involved. When Chris Hadfield flew, there was a huge activity there. If you watched all of the school contacts that were being done up and down, the whole Canadian province, if you will.
All right. Well, so truly a global initiative and a great inspirational opportunity for students on the ground. And I know the astronauts enjoy participating and talking with them. It gives them a little relief from their day-to-day activities as well. So
exactly.
Frank Bauer, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us about amateur radio on the space station and other vehicles. And we wish you and all your guests here a great day today.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kelly.
All right. Thanks, Frank.
Bye-bye.